Get your champagne, sip, and join us tonight at 8 p.m. sharp, where we invite social workers, theologians, and counselors to answer your questions about how migration and death has been affecting the Caribbean's population. Migration and death are adversely affecting populations in the Caribbean. Migration is defined as a movement from one country, place, or locality to another in search of better opportunities to settle. While death, on the other hand, is the action or fact of dying or being killed, it's the end of life of a person or organism. Today, the Optimist Group have come together to educate the population and the government on migration and death affecting the population in the Caribbean. Welcome. Welcome back, guys. So, we are going into our question and answer sessions. We ask you guys to send us some questions that you'd like to be answered in regards to how death and migration is affecting the population of the Caribbean. You guys, sent us some questions through TikTok and Instagram. And so we have gathered our panelists here, some social workers, some counselors, and some theologians that would, answer your questions to the best of their ability. So let's jump right into it, where we have our number one question. What are the primary causes of migration and death in the Caribbean, and how are these factors contributing to the population decline and adverse effects on the region's economy? Which one of my panelists would like to take on this question?
Okay, good night again, everyone, and welcome to another panel discussion. The question is, what are the primary causes of migration and death in the Caribbean, and how these factors contribute to population decline and adverse effects on the region's economy? Okay, so let me begin with migration, right? And we know that persons migrate for various reasons. Since the earliest times, humanity has been on the move. Some people move in search of work or economic opportunities to join family or to study. Others move to escape conflict, persecution, terrorism, or human rights violations. Still others move in response to the adverse effects of climate change, natural disasters, or other environmental factors. Okay, so let me look at death. And when we speak of death, according to our traffic unit, the fatal crashes over the 5 years period accounting for 2,237 deaths. Last year was 488 due to accident. According to researchers, hypertension and diabetes are the #1 cause of death in the Caribbean and the world. 8 in 10 people with hypertension are not properly monitored or treated. More than a third of people with diabetes are unaware they have the disease. These 3/4 of people with diabetes die of heart disease or stroke, and 10 to 20% die of kidney failure. In total, over the last 50 years, the Caribbean, with a present population of about 37 million people, has lost more than 5 million people based on the most recent data on migration provided by the United Nations Population Division. The net migration for the Caribbean is one of the highest worldwide, with a great variation within the region itself. The countries that have experienced the greatest losses over the past decades are Guyana, Suriname, Jamaica, and St. Lucia. Jamaica is rapidly moving to an advanced stage of demographic transition, partly due to a rapid decline in the birth rate, but more so due to a high immigration rate. In 2020, there were 33,800 births and 18,100 deaths. Economic and Social Survey of Jamaica 2019, which would have resulted in a population increase of about 15,700 persons. However, net immigration caused the loss of a further 18,000 people, thus leading to a minor population decline. Before 2010, the Jamaican population increased by around 10,000 people annually. But since 2017, this has turned into an annual population decline. Therefore, I will be looking at the factors that contribute to population decline and adverse effects on the region's economy. So let me first look at migration as one of the factors, right? And if we realize that we are experiencing brain drain in our country, we know that our teachers and our nurses, everybody migrate, everybody gone abroad where, there is greener grass, right? Mortality rate. And we know that mortality rate refers to the number of individuals that die per 1,000 individuals in a population. Fertility rate as well. And fertility rate refers to the average number of children a woman gives birth to. If that is falling below a certain amount of size, of course, we know that there will be a decline in population. Some of the effects are that, of course, everybody is gonna feel it. The business persons, the taxi drivers, everybody feels it, right? And so I just want to look at the business people. Of course, you will have less turnover for persons doing business, and this is not good, right? You have fewer people traveling by transportation, which is going to be more costlier, right? And there will be less demand for rented accommodation. You find that you have fewer homes that, are going to be built, right? So I remember in COVID, and because of, most persons used to stay home, and we experienced a lot of debt. And even standing at the taxi stand, I realized that, there were even more taxis than passengers. So that was also an effect on the economy as well. This is my input.
Thank you so much for that, Anne. And I'm sure our listeners, our followers, and our supporters really do appreciate your response to their question. And so another question that we pulled, from the pool of questions sent in through our supporters is, to what extent is migration and death affecting the population in the Caribbean? Would one of my panelists take this one on, please?
Okay, I'll take this question on. So good night, panelists and host. All right. To what extent is migration and death affecting the population in the Caribbean? All right. So migration has impacted Jamaica in several ways. Migration in the Caribbean involves Jamaican obtaining work permit, and that's work permit visas, opportunities for tourism, free movement of persons for the purpose of work and study, right of establishment, and that's in whichever state or country of choice, short and long visits, networking, opportunities for skill certification, etc. So over the past 3 years, we acknowledge the impact on the population and migration. In March 2020, when the airport borders, they were closed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, one of the effects of the pandemic was on tourism. We could say also jeopardizing income. Persons were affected, and the economic livelihoods. We would have heard the Prime Minister touching a number of factors as it relates to international economics. All right, so according to statistics from the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, as of 2020, there was a total of 9.08 million migrants from the Caribbean living outside their country or territory of their own origin. They represent this represented an increase of 117% compared to 1990, in which the total year of Caribbean immigrants reached 4.19 million. We can see a vast difference there. The free mobility of people in the Caribbean has become a critical component of regional integration in recent decades. And the Caribbean single market and economy, as we would know, that integrate with the CARICOM nationals, it has given the right to freedom, mobility in the community, and a period of 6-month permit is given. This is under the travel facilitation scheme. However, between 2013 to 2017, a total of 4,039 movements of CARICOM nationals were registered under this same framework, which is the travel facilitation. I just want to pull some details from a research that was done in 1963. So the rate of population growth in the Caribbean was 2.23. The general trend since then can be described as a rather steady decline. By 2020, the rate of population growth in the region was 0.46%. Now, there are some factors within the research. So, factors that affected the population increase and decrease in the Caribbean. These are things that we are familiar with. So birth rates, have also decreased for the same reason, which impacted fertility rates that were dropped significantly in the region. A greater portion of women entered the workforce pursuing higher education through migration. And as a result, we had what? Fewer children being born. Infant mortality, improvements in healthcare have led to significant reduction in infant mortality rates throughout the region. Another aspect, life expectancy. So improvements in healthcare have caused life expectancy throughout the region to increase. However, the increase in life expectancy has been relatively slow compared to many other parts of the world. Let me touch on death rates. So death rates have remained roughly stable despite improvements in medical care due to the increasing proportion of elderly people in the Caribbean. And last, migration. There is a significant flow of immigrants from the region. Many people choose to migrate to countries such as the USA, Canada, and even the UK. The flow of immigrants into the region is significantly smaller. The Caribbean can be described as a region of net immigration. So we can see a lot going on there as it relates to immigrants, and also in terms of death, because persons are not really in their own region of birth, then or of origin, then you can see the count has dropped significantly. Thank you. I now hand over back to the host.
Thank you so much for that, Marie. That was well said, and I'm sure our supporter who asked that question would have understand the information provided. Now we're going to draw from a question that was sent in from our Instagram question and answer panel. And this question came in from Anna, and it states, what policies and interventions can be implemented to address the challenges of migration and death in the Caribbean and promote sustainable development? Which one of my panelists would be able to answer this juicy question?
I'll take that question. Okay. I think what Anna should say is what policies should be improved. I have a list of policies here, and my first policy is to strengthen the economy, and I think that is very obvious. So many people migrate because they are in search of a better economic opportunities. As Anne-Marie said earlier, they're searching for greener grass, greener pastures, such as better paying jobs and higher living standards. Therefore, policies that aim to improve the economy, such as creating jobs, because as you know, many people migrate because they're in search of jobs. If jobs are created, you realize that people would want to stay in their home country, because who wouldn't want to stay in Jamaica? We realize that people normally migrate to the US and then they come back to Jamaica to vacate. They come back to their home country to vacate. So it would be very nice if jobs were created in order for persons to stay in their country and enjoy their country. Another one is to promote investments and support small businesses. This can help to reduce the need of people to migrate. Oftentimes, we realize that there's a lot of killings because people are robbing stores. We realize that people are robbing banks, corner stores, corner shops, because what they want money. They want money, and there is no jobs created. Therefore, they take the high road doing illegitimate things in order to earn a living. So if the economy was strengthened, you realize that there would be less crime, less violence, and you realize that people would not leave their home country. And this leads me to the point of my other point, which is addressing social and political issues, such as social and political factors such as conflict and violence and persecution that can also drive people to migrate. So policies that address these issues, such as promoting peace and security and promoting human rights and providing humanitarian aid to those in need, can help to reduce the number of people who feel compelled to retaliate with violence, or persons who feel compelled to migrate. My other point is to improve healthcare infrastructures. Oftentimes, we hear persons complaining about the healthcare system, that they're not getting the care that they deserve, that nurses are being overworked, that there's not enough equipment there to take care of a certain issue. Realize that people are going overseas to have their children because, if if they are not properly trained to deal with certain things, certain illnesses, they might die. So people try to migrate in order to seek better health care. And this also increases the number of hospitals. If we implement more hospitals, create more hospitals, if we create more clinics and provide better health medical equipment, and train healthcare professionals, realize that persons will not want to migrate. They want to stay in their country, and this will help to provide timely and effective medical treatment to people, thereby reducing the number of deaths caused by treatable illnesses. And my final point is investing in education and training. Oftentimes, we hear of students going overseas, going to Canada, going to the US to study to get a degree, and subsequently to work. So, providing access to education and training can help people to acquire the skills and knowledge they need to find a good job and provide and to improve their living conditions. This can reduce the likelihood that they would feel the need to migrate to other countries to seek better opportunities. And this leads back to my first point of strengthening the economy. So even if the government were to invest in education and training, and students get proper education, there still needs to be job creation. So I think these are some of the policies, or yes, policies that could be implemented to reduce debt and migration within a country.
Thank you so much for answering that question, Zalika. Thank you. And I'm sure our supporter who asked that question, who sent their question in, thanks you as well for, providing them with that information. Now, our final question came from our question and answer through TikTok. And this was from Lexan. And this question says, to what extent do socioeconomic factors such as poverty and the lack of access to healthcare contribute to higher rates of migration and mortality in the Caribbean? And how can these factors be addressed to reduce the impacts? Well, we can definitely tell Lexan thought about this one. But which one of my panelists would love to take on this juicy question?
All right, good night. I'll be more than happy to take on this question. So for me, Zalika really summed it up. But to put my own points to it, for me, poverty and the lack of proper health care and constant economic recessions increases the likelihood of migration and the mortality rate Because if you and your family are constantly suffering and there's no improvement in society and the government isn't making solutions that work, it's going to trigger your fight or flight characteristics for your family. So for your fight characteristics, you and your family might stay in the country, try to tough it out, which will more than likely lead to an early death. But for your flight characteristics, you're going to try and make a way for you and your family to survive. And if that means moving to a country with a better economy and better healthcare, that is what you do to ensure survival. So for me, the best way to fix this is gradually to improve healthcare in the country, lower interest rates and taxes so families can improve their living standard of living, and go more into the inner city communities to see what best are the ways that people and everyone can reduce their poverty situation.
Thank you so much, Jermel, for taking on that big question by Lexan. And thank you to all our supporters and our followers. We have come to the end of another question and answer session. And these are our guest panelists. We have Rosemary, Jermel, Zal, and we have Anne-Marie. See you guys in the next video.